like walking, talking. Everybody, it's Lisa Copeland, and welcome to my show, The Art of the Big Sell, where I have got what I think is one of the greatest leaders in the automotive industry, very dear friend of mine, Mr. Brian Benstock, who's in the back of an Uber right now. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully we didn't just lose him. No, he's still moving. I said, Brian, you're in the back of an Uber, and he said, that's why they call it live.
That's right. Get us where we are.
Hey, that's where we are. Okay, what we're talking about today, and what I've been talking about, it's been heavy on my heart that Mr. Marchionne, the chairman of the board of FCA, was no longer the chairman as of Saturday. He was removed due to failing health, and today, Automotive News has announced that it's irreversible. I don't believe that personally. I think he can do anything. But Brian, so we're talking about great leaders in our life that have inspired us to do great things. And so Sergio was mine, and people who know me know the story, but he was so gracious to honor a bet that was made on his behalf. And there's that one person in your life that you meet, that when you meet them, that they change your life, they change your career, they change everything you do forever. Who is your person?
Sure. Well, easy. Paul Singer. I started working for him when I was 21 years old, and he was just, he had a work ethic that was second to none. He put me on the map and really taught me such a super foundation of business. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2000. He had sick, and they don't. Life doesn't. Those of us to be around really need to hang on for everything we've got. It's amazing, special people that granted that they're going to be there forever to guide you. And I think our role and our mission is to prepare ourselves for and who we're going to have to. And I think that was one of the things that he did really well for me that's aware of. But he was preparing me for a time when he was going to.
So are you heading into a meeting right now, Brian, maybe with Honda in LA?
I am. I absolutely am. I'm in the Honda headquarters in Torrance. It's kind of exciting, the power of dreams here at Honda. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Paul Singer.
And if you could have a conversation with Paul Singer today, what would you say to him?
Look at what you've done. Look at all that you've done. Look at how special from your aunt, and look at it here in America. And look what you've done with your family and for your family. And for so many, not the least of which is me, but so many people and so many lives have been impacted. So it's, as I look at a picture of Mr. Honda, the power of dreams and the power of one. What one person can do, a man or a woman, what influence they can have on people. And I think that's the most important thing that we can give and that we can get, is the understanding that one person can and does make a difference. And he made a difference in my life, and of course countless other lives, as did and does Mr. Marchionne for you.
Yeah. Well, and obviously I did not work directly for Mr. Marchionne, but
it doesn't matter.
Right.
He was the inspiration and the leader for you anyhow, and that's a really special understanding that it doesn't have to be direct one-on-one. And Lisa, I really hate today a meeting in 5 minutes. I have really no exact idea of where I'm supposed to be.
Okay, well, so Brian, we're going to let you sign off. We're going to bring you back in a couple of weeks, and you sign off, and I'm going to continue with this as we talk about great leaders.
Great, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
Okay, everybody, hang with me here. All right. Well, that was so sweet of Brian. I can always count on him to jump in whenever I need him, because I knew that he had somebody great in his life. So who is your Sergio? Why I did this today on Big Sellers is, there's usually one person in your life. There'll be the one person who absolutely inspires you to greatness. And that was Sergio Marchionne. And where it started for me was at a dealer announcement show. And if you'll bear with me, I want to read you a couple of things that came from a speech that Mr. Marchionne gave on September 14th of 2010 in Orlando, Florida. And the words from this speech absolutely changed the trajectory of my life and of my career. And I wanted to share those with you. And that's why I wanted to bring on my good friend, Brian Benstock, because he, I think he's truly one of the great ones in the automotive industry today, and just a very, very good friend. But I am so grateful for great leaders like him in the automotive industry. But let me read this to you. Marchionne, September 14th, 2010. I want to start off by thanking you for being here today. Now, let me set the stage for this. You know what? I'm not going to. I'm going to read it because he actually sets the stage. Not just for the efforts you have made in coming here, but for the patience you have shown for waiting for this meeting to happen. I want to take a moment now to acknowledge that you have been through much hardship and uncertainty over the last 18 months. I mean, he's addressing a group of people that lost their dealerships, that were losing money. The automotive industry is in peril. The country is in peril, okay? And I want to personally thank you for hanging tough with Chrysler during this period that was painful but necessary. It's been about 16 months since we emerged from Chapter 11, and intentionally and unusually for this industry, we have remained rather quiet. As I was preparing for these comments yesterday, I came across our daily press clippings in an article in Automotive News discussing the meeting we are holding right now, and I found this statement from one of the American dealers in the room. He said, "Last time we did this at a meeting in Las Vegas, guys named Press and Nardelli, and they came off terrific. 2 years later, they were selling us down the road. Even if these guys came off terrific, there's still a healing process." Now, this was prior to Marchionne. And then it dawned on me that this was no ordinary dealer convention. We have all traveled a long road since Las Vegas, and a lot of that road was uncertain, uneven, unpleasant, and left all of us with deep felt of discomfort, and it left no clear direction for the future. That is how he opened the meeting. And he proceeds to say, what came much more naturally to me was to speak to you as equals, as chief executive officer to chief executive officer, because that is what you are, and to tell you things that you can only say occasionally in life to those who mean a great deal to you and to your organizations. My comments today are not intended as the most direct and the most personal way, my comments today are intended as the most direct and most personal way I know of sharing some of my thoughts with you. They are not the reflection of someone who has all the answers, but rather of someone who has faced adversity and the abyss of insolvency of the car business before, and who, together with a group of incredibly talented leaders, some of them who are sitting in this room today, stopped and reversed what appeared to be destined to be an inevitable fatal tailspin. Someone who is trying to replicate that turnaround here at Chrysler. And if you guys remember history, this is not the first time Chrysler has gone down that road, right? But there was the days that Lee Iacocca pulled out the Chrysler Corporation with the K car. When I attended law school in Canada a number of years ago, and this is the line that changed the whole trajectory of my career, and knew I needed to meet this man someday. When I was in law school in Canada a number of years ago, I was fortunate enough to have a brilliant visiting professor from Oxford as a lecturer in my law contracts course. I remember distinctly how he opened up the first lecture by defining in an almost ominous tone, a contract is just an exchange for a promise for a promise. These words still resonate with me today, some 30 years later after I heard them, because they embed and reflect the notion of discipline and faithfulness, of rigor, of commitment in making a promise. These principles have stayed with me my whole professional life, and they have guided every business I have ever taken. So here is my proposal, and I'm going to just read a sum of it, because this is why I'm going to tell you it's so important. An exchange of a promise for a promise. Simple, straight, uncomplicated. I want to be able to leave this meeting tomorrow with certainty of knowing that we have a deal. And so just to sum up this great speech that was given by Mr. Marchionne back in 2010, is he's sitting in front of a very, very weary crowd of automotive car dealers who've been to hell and back. They've been lied to by the previous regime. They've been drugged down the river. This guy has been silent for 16 months. Who is he now to throw out a promise for a promise? Well, I can tell you this. Everybody left that room in a whole new spirit. Everybody left that room knowing that there was a leader standing amongst them for the first time in a very long time. There was a leader standing in front of them that was going to help bring them down the path of success, that was going to save the Chrysler Corporation from peril, from being totally bankrupt and done. And why do I bring this to you today? Why is this so important to me? Well, as Mr. Marchionne is laying in the hospital in Switzerland fighting for his life, it's just, I just reflect on what he did in my business career. And what he told those dealers was, he said, it's a promise for a promise. Like, guys, guess what? And ladies, I know we've got problems. I know that we have not built a car that is the quality that the American consumer expects. I know this, I know that. He knew what was wrong, because he was a leader amongst leaders. But he turned around and he looked at those car dealers in the audience and he said, but you know what? You haven't held up your end of the bargain either. You have not given the customers the type of experience that they deserve, and many other things. The speech is, I don't know, 18 pages long. And when Marchionne came to see me, I actually had him sign my copy of the speech that I had downloaded right after he had given it. And you probably can't even get it today online. I treasure it all the time. And I use it for so much. But that was the day that I understood what a promise for a promise was. And, I won't even get into a lopsided business deal anymore. In the old days, I probably would have, because there has to be a promise on both sides. So I heard that speech in 2010, and I want to fast forward you to June 4th of 2012, when my young sales team had broken the Fiat world sales record. And Mr. Marchionne honored a bet that was made by an executive of his, an audacious bet that I had made with this executive, that Mr. Marchionne would show up if we broke the record. Now, this man didn't have to do this. He was the global chairman of the board of Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Ferrari, Maserati, Alfa Romeo, global. At that point, he was the head of the European Auto Union. He was a busy, busy man. And the fact that he took time to fly across the world, literally, to come to my dealership, to have a private meeting, to tell me about his mother, tell me about growing up. And the funniest part to this story, and it's a story I tell from the stages, I write it in every book that I write. Once my team did break that record, in fact, one of the people on my team that broke that record is on this Facebook right now, Mr. Drew Barker. Hi, Drewby. I love to see my people on here. Anyways, once my team did that, and it was decided that Mr. Marchionne was going to come, the head of the Fiat brand at the time, Mr. Tim Kuniskis, who's now the head of Maserati and Alfa Romeo, he hadn't told Mr. Marchionne that he had made this bet on his behalf. And if you read anything about Mr. Marchionne, I probably would have been a little nervous too. But of course, in the great spirit of FCA, Tim followed through with his commitment to present it to Mr. Marchionne, and Mr. Marchionne came through with his commitment for a promise for a promise. And when I met him, I told him, let me back up. So Tim called me and he said, hey, I've got an idea. George Clooney does our ads in Europe. I haven't told Marchionne. Instead of Marchionne, like, how about George Clooney? Like, you can maybe go to Italy or go to dinner. And I'm like, nope. Only Marchionne will do. It's a promise for a promise. And so, of course, Tim made it happen, and Mr. Marchionne showed up. And when I met him, when he stood in front of me, and I was startled when he walked in, because I was kind of looking down, waiting for his motorcade to show up. I said, Mr. Marchionne, thank you for coming. And he said, I'm not Mr. Marchionne, I'm Sergio to you. And he knew I was terrified. I mean, I was trembling. I mean, imagine meeting the greatest person, like, the Pope or the president or whatever. And I say it because, I've met more celebrities than I can count. I've met a couple of sitting presidents. And it was wonderful, but it didn't change my life. This meeting changed my life. It changed the trajectory of my career. And we had a wonderful talk, and he built me a beautiful car, my own edition Fiat, pink Fiat, Lisa Copeland edition 001. But more than that, he was kind and he was gracious, and he honored somebody who, frankly, I was like a gnat in his dealer network, because Fiat's such a small brand, and as did the executives at FCA. And so why I wanted to talk about leadership today and about making audacious bets, because number one, like I told you earlier, Mr. Marchionne is laying in a hospital bed fighting for his life. And I think he's such a great man that I somehow in my heart and my soul, I feel like he's going to pull through it, because he's pulled through some pretty tough stuff, like saving the American auto industry by saving the Chrysler Corporation. But number two, who are the people? Like, so this is my show, The Art of the Big Sell. Who are the people in your life? Who's the one person you want to meet that you will change your life and will change the trajectory of your career? Because I will tell you this, Sergio Marchionne, by him showing up, changed my life. By Mr. Marchionne showing up and honoring the promise for a promise, he made me know that everything that he said in that speech in 2010 was absolutely who he was, and that everything I felt about him and his leadership was absolutely authentic and true. By him showing up, the International Press Corps was there. By him showing up, I've had a story to tell, as has my team, for the rest of their lives. By him showing up, I knew what great leadership was. And by making that bet, let me tell you some of the other great things that happened, besides meeting my hero, my absolute hero in business, and in the automotive industry. I learned that my biggest competitor was truly my friend. Because you see, we did not break the record the first month. We had to go into the second month, and I didn't have enough inventory. And he was responsible for making sure. He basically said, my inventory is your inventory. So I brought him in when Mr. Marchionne came and sat him on the front row. The advertising agency / marketing agency, Rev Couture, Alicia Doyle, she was there with me every weekend. She was absolutely one of the most brilliant marketers when it came to driving showroom traffic to the showroom. As of 90 days ago, she's now my business partner. And because she believed in me too. Austin Woman Magazine, Melinda Garvey, they put me on the cover in February of 2011, long before I had this audacious bet with Sergio Marchionne. And I had the International Press Corps there. I mean, I'm talking everyone from the New York Times to the Wall Street Journal in Italy, and every TV camera. I had friends calling me from California. Oh my God, I see you on the 6 o'clock news. What's up with this? Who is this guy? It was insane. But I put her on the front row because, see, she believed, and her publication believed, when other people probably didn't believe in the relaunch of Fix It Again, Tony. And I can go on and on and on about the people that believed, that really at the end of the day shouldn't have believed. And then I can go on and on about the people that were the closest to me, who thought I'd lost my mind, who thought this whole thing was a distraction. Why are you doing this? So I guess I will tell you that when you have got a big audacious goal, you're going to really find out who believes in you, who's willing to stand beside you, who's willing to do extraordinary things to help you hit your dream. You know, I think about Tony. You know, he's like, my inventory is your inventory. So by me depleting his inventory that month, it hurt his sales. It cost him money for us to become, you know, to break the sales record, and then of course to be #1 in the country. But see, that's being selfless. That's being somebody who is your friend and is more about the success of the brand, which that was really his overarching reason, than worrying about yourself. So, you know, it's been so heavy on my heart about what Mr. Marchionne is going through today. And I just wanted to tell my story of, again, I mean, this is one of the most powerful men in the world. And so, the fact that he would show up. So who is it? And I also tell you guys the story because what I learned from him, here's a couple things. #1 is that anything is possible. Anything's possible. You have to ask. He built me a hot pink car because I asked. He showed up. Excuse me. He fulfilled his bet because he's a man of honor. And that was the day, you guys, June 4th of 2012. That was the day that I learned that I will never, ever, ever play small again. Never play small. Who out there, who of you out there are playing small? Who of you out there, you're thinking, okay, my circumstances have me here, or in my case, I have the smallest car brand in the history of the universe, like literally small little baby car with a small footprint in a very, very large and noisy industry. But then the chairman of the board shows up. You see, anything's possible, but you have to want it so bad that you're willing to do whatever it takes. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to do what you need to do everything in life that you want to do? You see, that is the art of the big sell. And this book will be the third book that I've written about the Marchionne story in. And I was talking to one of my agents on the book, and I said, do you think I should tell that story again? I tell it from every stage. I tell it on every television show. I tell it everywhere I can go. And she said, Lisa, you need to tell that story the rest of your life because it is your story. That was the day that you decided that you would never play small again, that anything in life is possible. If you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to make the big audacious bet, if you're willing to believe. I mean, I believed, y'all. In my wildest dreams, I did not think that we wouldn't do it. And the first month, we didn't do it. We missed it like by 8 cars. Talk about being physically sick about something. When I gave it all I had, my team gave it all we had. We were out of gas. We just didn't have the pipeline. And you have to remember, so prior to that, the most cars I think we'd ever sold in a month was like 72 or 74. It's a little foggy to me nowadays. It's been 6 years. But anyways, so to break this record, we were going to have to increase production by 30% with a depleted inventory from the last big month we had. But you know what? In my heart and my soul, I knew we would do it. I knew I had the right team. I had the right marketing people, which was Rev Couture and Alicia Doyle, because she was committed. She lived in Houston. Her company was in Houston. She was up there every weekend. She's like, Lisa, I'm in this with you. So out of that, I got an amazing business partner that, look out, automotive world, here we come. What is it that you do? What is it? What lengths are you willing to go to? And are you tired of playing small? Who is the person in life that you're going to meet? What is the thing that you're going to push yourself to your outer linear? Like I pushed myself to, like, y'all, I didn't sleep like for 4 days. I was manic because I was like, we got to go. I'm sure my team hated me at that point in time. But God love them. They stuck in. The night that it happened, we went and got cheap champagne, and the only thing that was open, because sales closes at midnight, was Burger King. So we went and got like this huge box of like cheeseburgers from Burger King. We drank cheap champagne, and we celebrated and we partied, and we had on the showroom floor, and we had so much fun. And I just looked at this young sales team, and I said, you guys did it. You did it. You did what an entire industry said you couldn't do. You did what probably your parents told you that you couldn't do. And that's something that you can never take away from this young sales team and what they did, and their heart and their soul. And, and it taught me so much in life. And that's what the art of the big sell is about. That's what this show is about. It's about ordinary people that achieve extraordinary results. And that young sales team they all still are in their own right. They've all gone their own ways, but, they did something that nobody else in the world had ever done for the Fiat brand. And so as I just have been just so heavy-hearted the last 60 days, good Lord, the last 2 days about the news about Sergio Marchionne, I go back to what I wrote in my last book, and that is that your legacy is not your end-of-life story. It's your everyday story. And I think about a great leader like him, and he will always be my everyday story. He will be the story and what that sales team did that I will share from the mountaintops. And I hope someday that other people will share it too. So who are those people? Or are you one of those people that could make somebody's life or their dream or their goals come true? Would you be willing to jump on, okay, let's call it, he had a G5. So, he flew on his private Gulfstream. And I say that with love, complete love and respect. But would you jump on your plane and travel halfway across the world just to fulfill a bet that somebody else made for you? I don't think that he knows that everything changed. I mean, every book that I've written, I've made sure that he's gotten a copy of, so he knows my love and my absolute gratitude for what he did by showing up. And sometimes in life, y'all, we just have to show up. To be the art of the big sell is about showing up. It is about giving it all you've got every single day. And I will tell you what I learned about the promise for a promise also is that I will never get into a lopsided business deal again, right? It's like, just like Mr. Marchionne said in 2010, hey, I know we have problems, Chrysler Corporation, right? But hey, you dealers, you've also not lived up to your end of the bargain. So today, this is two CEOs talking to each other, right? It's him standing on the stage, and then of course the dealer principals, which are the CEOs. And he's saying, this is one CEO talking to another CEO. I'm not some vendor. I'm not some manufacturer. I'm not some supplier. It's you and me, baby. We are in business together, and we cannot succeed unless both of us fulfill a promise for a promise. Doesn't that fulfill? Isn't that every business? I mean, business can't be lopsided. You can't hire me and my team and think I can fix your problems if you're not willing to come in and do the work, and vice versa. So many things to be taken away from that speech. And, I printed it off right after I heard it. And he signed my copy of it. And for those of you out there, I don't know if it's still available. I guess anything's available on Google, but I recommend it for everybody to read. And it was on June 10th of 2014. Here it is. September 14th of 2010. And it was the 2010 Dealer Announcement Show in Orlando, Florida. So if you guys can Google that and get a copy of it, it is the best business case I have ever seen in my life. And don't ever play small. If thank God that, I've got this platform now that I get to go out and I get to talk to people all over the world and speak to them, and it always comes down to the Sergio, because Sergio taught me to never play small. Now, how did he teach me? He honored a bet. He lived up to what his speech said that he was, somebody that's all about a promise for a promise. You see, his executive made a promise on his behalf. And if you want to Google it, he gave the speech at my dealership, and it's just, I would just Google Sergio Marchionne Fiat of Austin, and it was a beautiful speech. And anyways, it was just, it was the biggest and greatest day of my business career, bar none, my automotive career, bar none. He's absolutely somebody I admire and respect. And so, who are those people in your life? Who is the one? What is the one event, right? Maybe it's not even a person sometimes. Maybe it's just an event. What is the one event that you need to happen to change your business or your life? And see, you only know what that event is. I knew in 2010 that if I could meet this man who gave this speech, a promise for a promise, a CEO to a CEO, if I could meet him somehow, some way, it would change my life. And those of you who know me really well, unbelievable how it changed my life and my career. I mean, to this day, there's not a meeting I can't get in the automotive industry because they're like, you're the one who made that bet with Marchionne, right? Yep, sure, I'll take a meeting with you. I think they think that if I was crazy enough to make a bet publicly, to meet the chairman of the board, that, there's not much I won't do to make sure that they're successful. And that's true. What is the event? Who is the person? Don't play small. You can't play small. Let me see what some of you guys have to say. Sherry Matthews, don't play small. That's a woman that doesn't play small right there. She just won the 2018 Global Inspiration Award. Women's Inspiration Award for not playing small, for inventing a shirt that helps women and men heal in comfort after a mastectomy. Nothing about Sherry plays small. Chris Martinez, another rock star. Amen. Thank you, Chris. Doug Walls. Oh, my brother's Ken, which is why I'm in sales. Oh, we love Ken Walls. Another guy that just, he's another guy that doesn't play small. Drew Barker, he's on here right now. I'm posting it. Hey, Lisa, Drew is on my team that broke the world sales record. And I'm so proud of him now, because it's like, it's almost like seeing your kids grow up. And so he's got a great job in a leadership position with a great Acura dealership down in El Paso. He married one of my best friend's daughters and has a beautiful daughter, Olivia, now, which I'm still waiting on the godmother invite. Let's see here. Sherry Matthews, Linda Lattimore. She just wrote a new book, Solutionaries. Fantastic book. Like, I love it. It's all about social entrepreneurship. Very, very good friend of mine. Anyway, so Tracy, how are you? Awesome question. So Tracy, another woman out there just, helping women, being transported out of violent situations, started a foundation. I'll post all of that. Wendell Hardy, that's very rare to be coached by someone that is willing to share. Blessed. Thank you. Anyways, it was heavy on my heart today to bring on one of the greatest leaders I now know in the auto industry and just in business in general, Mr. Brian Benstock. And it was so sweet of him just to jump on like he did, heading into a huge meeting at Honda headquarters. But, who are those people? Who are your tribe? Who are the people you can connect with? And, like I said, Mr. Marchionne, he showed up. He didn't have to. And it forever changed my life. And I know a lot of you out there, you pray, and I truly believe in the power of prayer. That man, I believe, single-handedly saved the automotive industry, an American automotive industry, because of the bailout, not the bailout, but because he, put together the buyout from Fiat in Italy of the Chrysler Corporation. And they were able to pay off the U.S. government 7 years early and with interest. And he actually told me the story when he was at my dealership, and very, very proud of it. And of course he was. And so, gosh, I just wanted to just reach out and just give him more love and more respect. And who knows who will see this? Maybe somebody in his family who doesn't know that story. Maybe it's a child, maybe it's a friend. I don't know, but maybe it's people that have worked for him that don't know the story. I don't know, but I just feel like I just wanted to, give complete honor and respect to somebody that absolutely changed my life and changed my career, and is to me, one of the greatest leaders in the world. And just to throw out love and prayers. Automotive News today said that he's in a coma and that it's irreversible. Well, you know what? I'm not going to buy it, because I think that prayers can heal anything. And that man has had his back up against a wall before. And, I think he can do it again. I just do. I think he's that great of a person. So anyways, everybody, I just wanted to just encourage you guys today. Like, there's nothing in life you can't do if you're not afraid to go out there and do the work. Quit playing small. Quit playing small. I have not played small since that day. Be careful who you share your dreams and your goals with. The people that are closest to you sometimes are the ones that are going to laugh at you and kick them in the teeth, whether it be family or whether it be the people that you work with. And sometimes your biggest competitor is going to be the one that is going to drag you to the finish line. Control the narrative. Mr. Marchionne says in the speech, a promise for a promise, it's unusual, but I've been silent for 16 months. That's unusual in the auto industry. I mean, beyond unusual, y'all. But I've been silent. Sometimes, and so he didn't speak until he was ready to speak. Sometimes in business, and boy, I've learned this, I don't speak until I'm ready. Sometimes I just let things go and go and go. And then I jump in when I'm ready to control the narrative. And that's what that man did as the chairman beautifully. He waited to control the narrative on that 2010 speech. What is the narrative in your business that you need to control so that you don't knee jerk? Who are the people that are closest to you, that are people on your team maybe, that are squelching your dreams, that are squelching, your big idea. Doesn't mean you don't have to love them anymore. Doesn't mean you don't have to work with them anymore. It just means that you need some new friends. Who are your competitors that you can compete with by day, but that you can become friends with, that you can collaborate with? Because sometimes your competitors are your greatest allies, but you have to reach out and you have to build a bridge of trust. And I think that that's what we did a really good job of. And that's one of the things I'm proudest of, because some of my biggest competitors were some of my very best friends. And don't get me wrong, we tried to crush each other during business hours. We all wanted to win. But at the end of the day, we were all in it together. Who's a person that you're doing business with now that's a potential business partner that hung in with you, trying to help you get something like Alicia did for me, and she wasn't really getting paid to do it. She was just there because she believed to her soul she wanted to see me cross the finish line. And now 6 years later, we're business partners. And look out, automotive industry, with what we're breaking with. We already have a lot of customers on it, so some of you guys know what I'm talking about. But you get your best partners, you get your best friends, you get your best ideas, all through adversity. When the people stick with you, when the people believe in you, when the people show up, when nobody else will, those won't be your darkest days. Those will be your greatest days. So that being said, big sellers, I am just so honored that all of you tuned in. And anyways, just please send lots of love and prayers out to Mr. Sergio Marchionne. And I will see all of you next Monday at 4:30 right here, Central Standard Time. And I've got, oh, wait a minute. I almost forgot. See, I started talking about Sergio and I forget. Tomorrow at this same time, at 4:30, I'm going to bring in, I'm bringing on Evelyn Chantel, and she's amazing, a car dealer. She's got 4 dealerships. She literally came off of the last boat from Cuba. So she fled a communist country as a child and came to America, and she is wildly successful. She's a servant leader. Her heart is to serve and to love her employees, and she believes that people that work for her should be better for it. Wow, that's a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Not just in the automotive industry, but in every industry. And the title on her business card is not dealer principal. It's not I'm the woman in charge. It is servant leader. And that's truly what she is a servant leader. So tomorrow I'm going to do another Big Sellers at 4:30 Central Standard Time. I will post the link with Miss Evelyn Chantal, and you will absolutely be as in love with her and her story. She is truly a dreamer, and all of her dreams have come true, but for no other reason but that she's a big seller. She never gave up. She built her dream. She did the work, and she never played small. So until tomorrow at 4:30 Central Standard Time, I wish all of you to have a fantastic evening. And remember, play big.